There are stories that are told with every generation. There will always be a James Bond, a Robin Hood, and a Spider-Man. Those stories are timeless, and we will always find a way for them to appeal to a new generation. Some stories feel like they should fit that mold, but somehow, Hollywood can't get it right. But where there's the scent of possible money, they'll keep right on trying. For better or worse. I'm Josh Tyler for Giant Freakin' Robot. And this is why Lost in Space failed. Lost in Space is the classic sci-fi take on the novel Swiss Family Robinson. The concept is simple, and on paper should have 4-quadrant appeal. Hollywood executives love hitting those quadrants. It's about a family, and they're stranded in space. Simple concept, hard to execute, with only the original 60s series achieving any lasting success.
Oh, the pain. The pain.
The 90s movie is a perennial worst sci-fi movie of the 90s contender, and while there was a Netflix series that ran for 3 seasons, no one seemed to notice. The problem is that the original series is campy and goofy, leaning hard into the absurdity of the premise.
If you wish to be warm, Dr. Smith, come into my arms.
I'd rather die.
Modern retellings tried to make it, respectively, dark and gritty or into teen drama. Lost in Space always follows the Robinson family on a mission to colonize a planet while Earth crumbles for various reasons. And every time, something goes wrong with the ship, either sabotage from the evil Dr. Smith or alien robots in the Netflix series, stranding them on a desolate alien planet. Unlike Gilligan's Island, the Robinsons leave the original planet and have a series of adventures in the far corner of space as they try to get back home. The 1965 series was compared to another sci-fi show that aired at the same time, Star Trek: The Original Series. But unlike the adventures of the Starship Enterprise, Lost in Space was an actual ratings success. Mixing fantasy and sci-fi, the show had a focus on Will Robinson, the family's youngest son, foiling the over-the-top villainous schemes of Dr. Smith. Aided by Robot and his classic catchphrase,
Danger, Will Robinson! Danger!
Will became the breakout star of the series. In retrospect, it's really Harris's scene-stealing, unhinged performance as Smith that kept the series going for 3 seasons. Dr. Smith is a coward, a genius, lazy, and an agent for an evil organization that can't let the Robinsons' mission succeed. Dr. John Robinson forgives Smith at the end of every episode, explaining why they put up with him despite his mustache-twirling villainy. Lost in Space managed to keep this setup running for 3 seasons of diminishing returns, but the fun plots, ridiculous acting, and cheap special effects turned it into a cult classic and a staple of cable television through into the 80s. But the 1998 movie, starring Matt LeBlanc at the height of Friends' popularity, William Hurt, Heather Graham, Lacey Chabert, and in a moment of perfect casting, Gary Oldman as Dr. Smith.
Your pain, Major, has just begun.
It became a big box office release, and then it simply vanished. Lost in Space 1998 was significantly darker, both in tone and visuals, tossing aside the bright, desolate alien planet for one that appeared to be in constant shadow, and it somehow included time travel. Sending the Robinsons into the future, where Will and Dr. Smith are the only survivors of the expedition. You'd be forgiven for forgetting that Heather Graham and Lacey Chabert, in her film debut, were part of Lost in Space 1998, which focuses like a laser on young Will dealing with the future Dr. Smith. It only works as well as it does because Gary Oldman never gives less than 100%. Missing from the story is any of the camp and charm of the original. Instead of Smith's over-the-top cartoonish villainy, it's a deadly serious story that attempts to be more Star Trek than Lost in Space. For some reason, Hollywood executives love taking campy properties and turning them serious for remakes or reboots decades later that miss the entire point of the original's appeal. Look at the X-Men decked out in black leather instead of the classic bright yellow uniforms, or everything about Star Trek Generations. Lost in Space is the last sci-fi franchise that should be turned dark and gritty. The film was number 1 at the box office. It made over $130 million against a budget of $80 million, and then dropped like a rock. As people actually watched it and realized it wasn't the space action movie the trailers painted it as, and the plot makes no sense at all, if you think about it for more than 30 seconds. That movie's failure didn't stop Netflix from bringing the series back out of mothballs in 2018 for one more go, this time as a series with Parker Posey as the latest Dr. Smith.
I'm not the villain of the story. I'm the hero.
and instead of only the Robinsons going into space, they are part of a larger colonial ship assaulted by aliens. Expanding the universe allowed the show to introduce different colonists as the seasons went on, but the show also updated the characters, turning the oldest daughter, Judy Robinson, into a medical doctor, and the middle child, Penny Robinson, into a writer, documenting their experiences. The robot lost its classic floppy arm design for a sleeker and sophisticated chassis. The focus of Netflix's take on Lost in Space shifts from Will and Robot to Judy, and the family's matriarch, Maureen Robinson, played by Molly Parker. That should have worked, especially the clashing of Parker's Maureen and Posey's Smith, but it's let down by the CW's teen drama level writing.
With the robot by my side, no one could hurt me. I could just be myself.
Do you remember who that is anymore?
Every entry in the franchise has included at least a little romance between Judy and Don West, but Netflix's update turns it to 11 with Penny falling in love with VJ, the son of the expedition's leader. It's not a bad series, but it's not what fans of the original wanted, though there are cameos by the original stars, the best of which is Bill Mumy playing a different Dr. Smith. From dark and gritty to teen drama, Lost in Space has been reimagined for different generations, and each time it misses the mark. The original is campy and fun and delightfully over the top, which is why it became beloved by generations of sci-fi fans. And even if you've never seen a second of the series, you recognize Robot. Studios today need to add their own twist on every IP they get their hands on, and in a desperate bid for attention, have collectively decided that being a fun, low-stakes series that embraces campiness isn't good enough to enter production. So instead, we have to endure a never-ending series of sci-fi shows stuffed full of drama when all we want is a goofy robot flailing its arms while the villain curses that they could have gotten away with it if not for those meddling kids. Think you could have gotten away with rebooting Lost in Space if you were in charge? Let us know how you'd save this franchise in the comments. And if you like this video, support the channel by doing all that YouTube stuff. We're hanging on by a thread here, and it's only the support we get from all of you that keeps Giant Freaking Robot going. Until next time, I've been Josh, and because you're very smart, you've been watching Giant Freaking Robot.